Hello and welcome to another episode. Oh, I should just wait till you sit here. We're editing this, right?
Yes,
Okay, so we can just.
Yes.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Insights. We're your hosts. I'm Pia. I'm joined by Sharissa, and this is Lisa. And we're here to talk about the 10 commandments for clean eating, but specifically the first commandment, and that is commandment number 1, which is let the ingredient list guide you. Now, if you want to follow along, we would love for you to do that. Please go to www.iamacleaneater.com, and on that community website, online website, you'll be able to find the 10 commandments, and we've written blogs and we have videos. And that's really the start of this platform, your journey to clean eating. Those are the tenets that you should be following. So we're going to guide you through those in the upcoming months. And today we want to talk about the first one, which is let the ingredient list guide you. Now, let's just talk about what that means for everybody when you hear that, let the ingredient list guide you. Lisa, what does that mean to you when you first heard it? Like, we've talked about it several times, but what does it mean to you, like the very first time you heard that?
Well, I learned not to look at the content of the food, not the calories, not the fat, not the sugars, that kind of thing. It was actually what is the source of those things, because even though it might be something healthy, I can't have any soy products, and I know they're in a lot of things that are deemed healthy. So I have to make sure that I read the ingredients, because there's certain buzzwords in my diet that I can't have. So that's what really started me on making sure that the ingredients were things that I could eat.
Well, especially I wanted to just touch on this fact that you're, as a vegetarian, that's a very normal source of protein for vegetarians is to go for the soy. So I think even more so in your diet, you have to pay the most attention to the ingredients, because you're avoiding not only the animal products, but also this main source of protein. It's not a clean source of protein, but kind of the main source of protein for vegetarians. So really interesting. I like that.
And what does it mean to you when you first read that and heard that let the ingredient list guide you? What did the very first thing when you heard that, what did you think?
Probably about the same as Lisa. So again, looking at where the food, where those percentages are coming from. So a lot of the times we get people in here that are saying, they look and they, wow, that's a lot of sugar. That's a big one, right? People say, oh, that's a lot of sugar. But nobody pays attention to where the sugar's coming from. Right. So if you're looking at a label and it says, 20 grams of sugar per serving, but then it's date syrup. So that makes sense. It's sugar, right? Yeah. That's not what it is, 20 grams, but still. But
it's not that, trust us.
It's 13. But it's, but the source, so then in my mind, the first commandment tells me to go and look at what the source of that sugar was. Yes. And if it was dates or it was apple or it was something along those lines, that you're going to get a higher percentage of sugar content, even though you also have really good high quality fats or really good fiber, things that kind of balance it out. It also took me that same place. So where are those percentages coming from and in what source?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, when I first wrote the 10 commandments, and specifically why I put the first one as the let the ingredient list guide you, is because I was observing people in my store, just like what you said, Sharissa, and I would see them, like, let me just grab something here. Yeah. And they would, and this is what I used to do too, okay? This is what I used to do. Read it here. Oh, that sounds good. And I would be very seduced by the packaging, right? And so it says everything that, I want to hear, or that I think I want to hear. So that must be good. Now, when you're in a store like this, everything is safe, so you're not going to really make a mistake, okay, because we just don't allow certain items in the store. But I kept saying, gosh, if they just turned the package around and read the ingredients, that would really help everybody.
It would give some clarity.
It would give some clarity, absolutely. And then what Sharissa said, and tied it together. So the reading, what I observed was, in my opinion, not the right way to read a package or a label because they would just go through the nutrition facts and never read the ingredient list. And I think we became obsessed with this because, well, especially for perhaps our generation in here, because we were obsessed with calorie count, right? What's the calorie count and what's the per serving? So the first thing you look at for a lot of people is that. I'm so happy that like albatross around my neck has been removed because it's like,
yeah, I never did it.
No, you never did it.
I mean,
in this generation.
No, I tried once when
Okay.
I was before I had my kids. I had already started getting really sick, and so I couldn't lose weight. But then, and I was at, I'm a 5'10", I was at 150 pounds, so I was like perfect for my like height and weight group. But I did start going to the gym, and I was looking at it, and I was going to try to do like this 2,000 calorie diet that everybody says. And so I did start looking at it, and then like maybe 2 days I couldn't do it.
Right.
And I
That's
just
good.
go back to
Yeah,
that
good for
philosophy
you.
of like, no, I'm just going to eat the right foods and eat until I'm full because I'm not going to starve myself,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to feel deprived. And that's always been a thing for me. Like, I don't want to feel the deprivation.
Yes.
So I never did it. I never did it.
That's
but
so
I do
awesome.
I always check the serving size because I want to see what they recommend you eating from the package, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
the serving size is half the bag, then I'm going to eat half the bag.
Right.
Or think
Okay.
at least that that it's okay.
right, okay, that's so interesting. So that was part of the motivation of putting that as commandment number 1, which was that importance of how those two tie together. Now, as we continue to think about the ingredient list, and I want to touch a little bit on what Lisa was saying earlier, which is certain people just remove either food groups or types of food completely from their diet. And so I have interesting conversations all the time with people in my store, and they say, well, I read the ingredients, but I don't know what I should be looking for, or if it's good or bad. So I would like to touch a little bit on that and try to give some advice on what we think would be like when they are reading the ingredients. Again, here it's simple because some things are just one ingredient: cashew butter, ingredient, cashews. Okay. Date syrup, ingredient, dates. Okay. Boom, we're done. And usually it's organic, and so there's no confusion, right? But then we can see something like, like some people say if it's like a really long word, you don't want it. But then like lactobacillus is a really long word, but you want that because it's a probiotic. So what do you have some advice for in that regard?
Okay,
Charissa?
really good. So I would, this is a really good idea for us to do as a blog topic.
Okay.
So look for that in the next coming weeks.
Okay.
Just as an ingredient, things that you should absolutely stay away from in your ingredient list. So there are things that like you're going to try to avoid if you want to avoid them. So for me, I don't eat dairy, gluten, soy, corn, things like that. So I always look in the package to make sure it doesn't have those ingredients. For Lisa, she's looking the same thing. She doesn't want any soy. So that's what, if you have those things that you don't eat or that you know for sure, I'm never going to eat canola oil, or I'm never going to eat, corn syrup, things like that, then you know automatically that you don't want those foods if that ingredient is in it. But there's a lot of sneaky things too.
Yes.
So
yes.
I tell people that, we know MSG when it's in the form of MSG, but not everybody knows that MSG actually stands for monosodium glutamate. And they often will put the full word because everybody's gotten so keen on MSG. So if you know you're avoiding MSG, but it doesn't say MSG on the label, it says monosodium glutamate, then you know you're going to want to avoid that. Also, maltodextrin, if you don't eat corn, maltodextrin is actually corn. So you want to avoid anything that says maltodextrin. That's going to be in your spices, and often I've found it in almonds because they try to keep them dry and keep it from clumping.
It also comes in some forms of healthier foods like coconut milk powders and stuff. So we have one that is derived from tapioca.
Oh yeah.
From the whole yucca root. So then that's acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to look at that. Yeah.
Again, and then anytime you see any kind of artificial sweeteners like aspartame, I can't think of the other ones for some reason. But any of those artificial sweeteners, so it's like sugar-free or low sugar, those ones you're going to want to avoid because that's not a real sugar. It's actually a chemical, and your body's going to react to it in a way that it would react to chemicals.
Yes, and those are like the blue packets, the pink
Yes,
packets,
yes,
yellow
yes.
packets, the yellow packets.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny.
Yes.
Who was it? I want to say either the FDA or CDC just posted or just updated this past week on Splenda being a possible cause of cancer. And of course we've known this for 10 years, but it hasn't ever been admitted to now. And so now it is being like, now they're saying it like they've said other things before, and we're still doing it.
Right.
So be very cautious of that, the Equal, the Splenda, all of those, like you said, the pink, yellow, and the blue packets. But look for them in your foods. If your packet on the front does that nice, that all the branding that you want it to say, but on the back of it, it says aspartame, you're getting something that is a known cancer hazard now.
Right.
So why add to the already tumultuous world that we live in? Also, the dyes, like red dye, yellow dye, blue dyes, things like that.
That's a good one.
If you're eating food that needs to be artificially colored, then there's a problem. So try to find something that's either naturally colored. So for instance, something kind of silly, my kids still want to have a little treat every now and then. It's not super often, but I will buy them gummy bears or gummy worms that are colored with beet juice or turmeric powder, because that takes away from the yellow dye and the red dye. I don't give them any artificial dyes. So those are something that you'd want to for sure avoid. The maltodextrin, the MSG or monosodium glutamate, things like the soybean oil, the canola oil, the red dye, the yellow dye, the blue dye. Just right off the bat, if those ingredients are in your food, it's not a high quality product, and it's something that just doesn't belong in your body.
Okay, and we're going to blog about that. I think there was a link at some point that we put in at somewhere, and you could probably look on our site, www.iamacleaneater.com, and there was probably a link somewhere in there that talked about like 200 different names for sugar.
Yeah, and I did add in, and I'll put a link at the bottom of this video to our 10 Commandments as well as to the blog on this topic. And on the blog, there is a list of sneaky ingredients.
Okay,
so you can click right from our 10 Commandments blog to the sneaky ingredient list. I will do a separate one for that at some point. But just so you have something now, the sneaky sugars, the sneaky ingredients, they will do whatever it takes to get the crappy ingredients in without you knowing.
Right.
So really pay attention.
And if you have one that you don't know, put it down below, and then we can research it and find out and let you know.
Absolutely.
That's great advice.
Absolutely. If you don't feel like searching yourself, we'll do it for you.
Yeah, that's really great advice. There are people that say, well, keep the ingredient list to a minimum, okay? And so the longer the ingredient list, the worse it is. And I again say, not really. That's not really true, because if you're doing some sort of breakfast morning shake, there will be a lot of ingredients that go in there, and they could all be great ingredients, and so you could read through that. So don't dismiss the product because it has an ingredient list like this. In general terms, you want to read to make sure. So again, in a place like this, it's going to be safe. But if you're going somewhere else and it does have a long list like this, that could be maybe there's too much in here that maybe shouldn't be in here, right?
And I have heard that rule to keep it to like 3 to 5 ingredients max. If it has more than that, it's not good. I just wanted to point out, so these are Life's nuts. They're sprouted nuts, and they're flavored to several different flavors, but this one is called pizza almonds. And this one has about 10 ingredients. But if you think about it, anytime you're doing a pizza or pizza sauce, you're going to have several ingredients. So you're going to have the tomatoes, the oregano, the thyme, the basil, all of that. So all of those ingredients are in here, which makes the list quite long. But all of them are organic, they're clean, it's raw, it's sprouted, it's got all of the things you need, even though it has a long ingredient list. So again, check to see if it has those sneaky ingredients or the things that you know for a fact you do not want in your body. For me, that list is like the bad oils, the bad sugars, the dyes, and those sneaky corn ingredients.
Yeah, pretty much anything artificial. I
And
mean, why
yeah,
would you put
anything
anything
artificial.
artificial?
Yeah.
Just don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Right. But and sometimes right on the front it'll say artificial and naturally flavored, like as though have you seen the
Like it's bragging.
It's good, right?
Oh,
It's so amazing.
this
I'll
makes
go in
me
the supermarket
crazy.
and I'm like, who's buying it? But they're buying it.
Yes.
They're buying it.
This
So
is
people
this
are
goes
buying
back to my number one argument, which is the chicken that's 100% vegetarian fed. Like
Yeah.
they are bragging about it. They paid
Yes.
thousands of dollars to have a huge sign put on the side of their truck to tell you how proud they are that their omnivores are eating a vegetarian diet. Like
Right.
it's not something to be proud of, but it's
they are.
Yes, but and I think by stating it like that, by saying like right in your face, this is what we're doing, it's artificial and natural, they're like, I'm being honest,
Yeah.
so I should at least get some accolade for that, and you should buy my product and still eat it. Like, no, please
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
Please stop. It's so bad.
So it goes to show, I think, Pete, there are a certain level or segment of the population that I think was just going to buy because they're still seeing it as food.
Sure.
And so when things are like what Lisa said, have the artificial ingredients, and what Sharissa said, have the dyes. This is not real food.
No.
That's what we have to make that
No.
distinction on.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, just go down the cereal aisle. It's like everything's
Yeah.
brightly colored.
Ugh.
It's
I have
not-
to say this. My sister told me this a couple weeks ago, and it's still, I've been ruminating on it. Her boyfriend told her like, "Oh, you're doing this, crazy new thing. You're a hippie," and she actually kind of stopped to think about it and said, "I'm not doing anything new. You're the one who's doing something new. The diet of the artificial, the chemically laden foods, that's the new diet.
Thank you.
That's the fad.
Thank
That's
you.
the trend. What
Right.
we're doing and what we're trying to teach is going back to our roots and getting back to what our bodies were meant to do. This
Right.
is not a new thing. This is not a trend. This is not a fad. This is how our species has been living for as long as it's been on the planet.
Yeah.
The changes that we've made, especially in America, are new within the last 50 years. There are
That's
people who
correct.
are alive, not Pia, I'm saying 50 years, that already had the good diet and then switched over. You are first generation crap eater.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we can easily go back. That's the trend.
Our
That's
bodies
the fad.
want us to go back.
Absolutely.
Our bodies want us to go back because we have
Absolutely.
not evolved
This-
enough
exactly.
to take in artificial
Exactly.
Right.
ingredients.
Yes.
So when we're comparing, what I often call it, we're in bizarro world. Okay, things are upside down. We're comparing real food to non-real food, and there are people arguing on this side to say eat the non-real food, and we're like, oh,
It's
wait.
brainwashing. It's brainwashing
Yes.
because the problem is we have a lot of people. We got to feed everybody.
Yeah.
How are we going to do it and still make it cost effective? Well, if we persuade people to eat the non-food, then we can save some of the real food to experiment on. I don't know. But this is not. It isn't a hippie movement.
No,
It
right.
isn't like some new fad, new
Right.
trend. I remember at the beginning of last year, the FDA came out, or the CDC came out and said, don't try these fad diets. Do you remember I showed you this post?
Yes.
Don't try
Yes.
these fad
Oh my
diets.
gosh.
And one of them was the paleo diet, which in the title, paleo diet suggests that it's Paleolithic, taking us back to our primal ages. And the other one was clean eating. Don't try clean eating, it's a fad diet.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you all want to die very young in a horrible way, sure, don't try the original diet. But if you want to continue living and be healthy and do all these great things, read the freaking ingredients. It's so heated. I'm sorry.
This is a good place to start because this will continue after we turn this off. Trust us.
Yes.
We're so happy that you watch us and listen to us, and hopefully we are changing the world one person at a time. You guys are helping us do that. Please visit us online. We have a wonderful Facebook page, our Instagram page, which will be starting updating on a regular basis this year, and of course our website. www.iamacleaneater.com. Until then, we'll see you for another Monday Night Insights next
Bye.
week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.